Okay, so it's very interesting to see the intertwining strands of the idea of Shekalim and Purim, and how deep it is, and how it's connected to the Mishkan. Now I want to just go one more direction, okay? Let's take a step backwards. The very beginning of the last parsha, of the previous parsha, which was Mishpatim, right, started with which laws?
Slave.
Eila Mishpatim Asher Tasim Lifnehem
Slave.
Eved Ivri, right? This is a preamble to this week's parsha. Why? It says, Eila Mishpatim Asher Tasim Lifnehem. These are the regulations I want to give you. So we learn from there, Rashi tells us, oh, we learned about the Mizbeach at the end of Yisro, and now we're giving the laws to say that in the Mikdash there has to be two elements. There has to be the Sanhedrin and the Kohanim, the rabbis and the priests, together. Why? What do we need it for? Why do we need Mishpatim as a preamble to this week's parsha of Truma? Go straight to it, right? Let's go. Let's build the Mishkan. What do I have to? Why is it? It's like you're sticking the Sanhedrin right in front, literally, because those are the rules of the Sanhedrin adjudicates, right? Misa, Avodim, especially Shemitah and Yovel, only exist when there is a Sanhedrin, by the way. So the whole rules of Eved Ivri are irrelevant if there's no Sanhedrin. Really, it's irrelevant. So why are they here? Like, what does it have to do with anything? Right? It's very important, but why is that part of the love story between Hashem and Klal? Hashem just gave us the Aseret Dibros. He says, "Build me an altar, serve me, present me with your dedication," and then, when you buy a Hebrew slave, what is that all about? And the second question is, that's not even Mishpatim. When you speak about law, what's the most important thing for rule of law? To establish rule of law, what do you have to have in order to have no chaos? What's the first thing, even going, we're obligated to have this? That what?
Yeah, courts.
What's the first of the second Aseret Dibros? Remember, this is the first Aseret Dibros of Ben Adam Le Makom, between us and Hashem. The second Aseret Dibros are between man and man. The first mitzvah of the second luchos are Lo Tirtzach, thou shalt not murder. They say, the same Pirkei, having mispalel l'shlomo shel malchus, daven for the government. Ilmole morao, if not for fear of the government, right?
One person's going to
Ish
swallow.
esre'ehu chayim balao. They're going to swallow each other alive. Anarchy and chaos. If there's no penalty for death, if a person can kill with impunity, there is no mishpat. It's a lawless land. The cartels are in charge. The terrorists are in charge. That's the absence of din. Lo tirtzach. Okay? And in fact, it says, interestingly, in Masechet Sanhedrin, it says regarding beheadings, which is, major way of Misas Bezdin out of the four. It says Herod, which comes for murder, right? Arotseach gets Herod. What does that mean? It says, the Gemara says what they do to him is they take a cherev and they take off his head, kiderech shahamalchus oseh, the way that the Romans do, or in other words, a non-Jewish state will behead people. Remember the French Revolution?
Yeah.
Off with their heads. That's dinim. And yet we find that right before that famous statement of Makeh ish riehu v'meis mos yumas. That's right there in Mishpatim, after the laws of the slaves of Ivri. Go straight to the point. So two questions. Why do I need dinim? And if you're going to do dinim, then do it already the right way. Start from Makeh ish. That's lo tirtzach. That's the first of the laws of Ben Adam L'Chaveiro. So start with that. That's Mishpatim. Mishpatim is basically civil law between man and man, civil society. So go there. What do you have to start with Avodim for? So I'd like to suggest upshot, okay, which I think ties in nicely to our theme. First of all, there's two Mishnayos in the first parak of Pirkei Avos. Okay, let's get this clear because it's important. You're not going to understand what I'm saying unless you get this. Okay. First Mishnah says, in the name of Rav Shimon HaTzadik, Al Shlosha Dvarim HaOlam Omeid. What are the three?
Torah,
Avoda, and Milos Chasadim. Torah, learning, and Avoda, which is davening, or Karbanos, will be included in that, and Milos Chasadim. Fine. But at the end of Perek Aleph, there's another Mishnah, and that's in the name of Rav Shimon ben Gamliel. And many also say it's the same nusach. Al Shlosha Dvarim HaOlam Omeid. Some people say it says over there Kayolam Kayam. Okay? But it could also be Olam Omeid. And what did it say over there? Din, Emes, and Shalom. Din, Emes, and Shalom. Now let's understand. Oh, very good. Mrs. Brown ahead of the game. She always steals my thunder.
I didn't say anything. I didn't work like that.
Okay, that's enough. We know you know the answer. Like the classes say, I know you know the answers.
Okay, I'm not saying it.
She knows everything. Mrs. Brown,
I don't.
God bless her.
I had a lot that
I wish I had her as a teacher. She's unbelievable. Okay, she knows every Ma'amar Chazal out there. So, do you think there's a connection? How do you reconcile these two Mishnayos? How could Rav Shimon Gamliel, who was a later generation, hundreds of years after Shimon HaTzadik, go against the words of Shimon HaTzadik, who was the last member of the prophetic era of Knesset HaGedolah? Chas v'sholom. He's hundreds of years before. Many hundreds of years. You know, Shimon HaTzadik, as we've learned, was with Alexander the Great. That's in the year 350, before the Common Era. Rav Shimon Gamliel was in the plus, was in the era after the turn of millennium, close to 400 years later, in the Roman era, right? In the era of persecutions, in the era of Bar Kokhba rebellion, actually. So, hundreds of years later, somebody's 500 years earlier than you. What, are you going to contradict them? The answer is, so now. So the Baal Turim comes along and says as follows. The Baal Turim says, he says, Ve'ele ha-mishpatim asher tasim lifneihem. Okay? The last letter of Ve'ele is what letter? He. Mishpatim is a Mem. Asher is a Resh. This refers to Mara. Mara is where they first started to learn the civil laws. This has to do, he says, Mishpatim is not just Mishpatim. It was a hachana for Kabbalas HaTorah. It was a precondition for Kabbalas HaTorah. They learned it between Kriyas Yamsuf and Matan Torah. Now, they were just getting a review. So, now we understand a little bit better what is the juxtaposition between the Mizbeach and Mishpatim. Well, it starts with Avodim. So, like we said, the simple pshat is Mizbeach here, Sanhedrin here. But if it's the Sanhedrin, what do we need Avodim for? Okay, it is true that there are no Avodim about Sanhedrin, but that's a side point. Says the Baal Turim, an amazing pshat. He says they both represent, the Mizbeach and Dinim represent three of the three things on which the world stands. The Mizbeach represents Avoda. From which Mishnah is that? The first or the last?
That's
right? Al Shlosha Dvarim HaOlam Omeid, Shimon HaTzadik, Al HaTorah, V'al HaAvoda, V'al Gemilas Chasodim. So it's from the first Mishnah. Oh, and then it says, and the Mishpatim are Din. So that's also from the three things upon which the world stands. Din, Re'emes, and Shalom. That's the Baal Turim. He says that's the connection. That's why they had to be put together. Excuse me. The Farshim say, how could you do that? You can't take from one Mishnah and match it with another Mishnah. So some want to say, oh, it just means that they're both from the, they're both in that class, in that category. But other Farshim say, no. As Mrs. Brown alluded to, not even knowing the Shiur completely, they're really only one Mishnah. Because Chas v'Sholom, Rav Shimon Gamliel should come along and say something contradictory to Shimon HaTzadik, but rather explanatory and relevant and deepening the teaching. The three correspond to each other. So let's start with Torah, Avoda, Gemilas Chasadim. Okay? Torah, we know what it is. Avodas, basically davening, karbanos, and gemilas chasadim, etc. Now let's go to the second three. It says what? Din would be a din, emes, and shalom. So how does that correspond? Which is which? So how does it match up? How would you say it matches up? Well, he says, you would say din goes with what? Actually not. He says, because remember the Baal Turim. The Baal Turim says din goes with avoda. Okay, so that's out. Din and avoda are a match. Gemilas chasadim would be shalom. They're bringing shalom. People are missing things, and you make them whole. You give them what they need. You make them shalom. You say mishloach manas yishloreyehu. It shows that there's love and friendship between the Jewish people. What does that leave us? Torah is emes. So what Rabbi Shimon was doing was explaining to the people on their level how to take those lofty concepts and understand them in a more practical way. Emes is truth. That's an abstract idea. Torah, the halacha, the maisa, is the truth of what you need to do in this setting. In this setting is mutter, in this setting is asr, in this setting is pater, this setting is chayav. That's the truth. So we have to apply it. Then you have avodah, a lofty idea, right? Lofty idea. And that is dinim. That's the laws of damages and why? Why? Okay. So what I want to suggest is this. The reason why Mishpatim starts with avodim and not with makeh adam v'yumas and not with the laws of lo sirtzach is because the laws of avodim represent the first dibros. The first five. Ben adam le makom. Starting with lo tirtzach, we have the second set of dibros. We have the ben adam lechavero. Now I'm going to show you in Parshas Mishpatim, it follows suit incredibly so. What really is being said here is a simple thing. Hashem is telling Moshe, look, Eila mashpatim shatasim lifneihem. They heard the Aseres Dibros. Great. Can you bring it down a little bit to the practical level of Torah? They couldn't even hear the Aseres Dibros. I wanted to show my love for them. I wanted to show that I'm connected to them. Heyu nechalim shloshos yamim. Go to the mikvah. Moshe is the shadchan. Klal Yisrael is the kala. Hashem is the chasan. This is a love story. And they couldn't handle it. They were not up for it. They weren't ready for it. And they weren't ready for it at many levels. So Hashem says, bring it down to their level. I'm going to give you this Aseres Dibros in a form that begins their journey to really fulfill it. Because we know in Aseres Dibros are all the mitzvahs. And there's a huge machlokas. In the Chaim Kodesh quotes, it was every mitzvah said conceptually at Sinai. Machlokas Tanaim. Klaloseha, but or was every prat also given over at Har Sinai? Or did that only happen in a later time? You understand? Were we given the Torah bigadol, and then biprat it came out piece by piece, the Moshe Rabbeinu, parsha by parsha? Or no, everything was there. It's machloket. But they're both true because it's yes, klal and prat. Of course it's klal and prat. We can't relate to Hashem on that level. We got to bring it down into a smaller space where we can live with it. We can live with it. That is what Hashem wants. So when Hashem gave us the Mizbeach, the service of Hashem, He said, okay, here's how you're going to do service for me. The first thing you're going to do is learn the laws of Avodim. Because what do I want you to know? Who is the one that you're supposed to love and serve? Hashem. And if there's a Jew who's not getting it, what do? You buy him. And you get him into the family. And you give him a shifcha. Somebody says, my friend, neighbor, Rabbi Klein, who does kiruv work, he says, people ask him, isn't it horrible that, they take an Eved Ivri and they force him to marry a shifcha kananis, and his children are not even his children. It's such a horror story. How do you understand this from an ethical position? I said, yeah, put yourself in the shoes of that poor Eved Ivri. He's all alone. Maybe he never had a wife. Maybe he could never afford a wife. A little bit of a little yutzlach. And now Hashem is giving them this woman who's already on the path of Torah mitzvahs, right? Because she's chayevet in mitzvahs. And they can have a family together. And he can learn how to be a mensch and how to be a good husband. And eventually he might even say, Ahavti es. I love my family. And he can stay with them. So you tell me, who's abusing who? No. We're going to teach you how to love. We're going to teach you how to care for. We're going to teach you how to be a zahav. We're going to teach her how to be a kesef. And nechoshes is the avoda. We're going to teach you. But that is the first dibros. I want a personal relationship with you. Because Baruch Hu, in the Olam HaElyonos that there are, and I know we have to stop like in 5 minutes. All right? He wants to, what is it? It says, V'asisa li mikdash v'shachanti bo ba'tem, inside of us. Hashem doesn't want an external mishkan. The external mishkan is just a model for us to understand, so we can integrate it a little bit. But ideally, there was not supposed to even need to be a mishkan. If we didn't have an Egel Azav, we wouldn't need the mishkan. If the guy didn't become an Eved Ivri, he wouldn't need to go for 6 years servitude and marry a Shifcha Kananas and all this stuff. But it's a rehabilitation program. That's what the Hilchos Avadim is. For what purpose? To restore them to be Ovdei Hashem. And only Ovdei Hashem. And how to be real, true Avadim to Hashem. The first Dibros. Lo Yelach Elohim Achim Apanai. Right? Lo Taselcha Elohim Chesef. Right? Notice. Elohei Kesef. Elohei Zahav. Don't use those the wrong way and turn them into gods. No. Kisufim and Zahav. That's me. That's me, Adam, Chav, and Nachash. That's all of us. And that's why Din, or which is Mishpatim, corresponds to the Mizbeach, according to the Rabbeinu Tam's, the Balaturim Sefer, because that's where Mishpatim begins. If you don't have the first Dibros, then don't bother me with Lo Sirtzach. Don't talk to me. Don't be Hammurabi, who starts with the code of, you steal something, we'll cut your hand off. Very good, that's important, especially in those days, and maybe even in our days. It will be better. You know that in New York City, which is becoming rapidly lawless, they made a new rule that if you catch somebody stealing, what do? You let them go without bail. There's no din. So there's one guy who stole 100 times on the subway. Every time he got arrested, they took him to the station, they wrote down that he stole, and they let him go. And he says, I thank you for that law. He made a declaration. He says, I want to thank New York for it. It's keeping me in business. Right? Every day he steals, every day he gets caught, and every day he goes home with the money.
Who made this law?
This is Meshuggah in New York. This is what's going on in New York. And now they're trying to figure out, maybe we shouldn't do this, maybe we should fix it up. He says, what a great law. It's lit. The way he described it, he says, this is lit. Or, literally, or gold ore, silver ore. This is mamish, my lucky day. Geneva is shining bright. Really? Okay. And so here's my political comment. I try to constrain myself. The Torah is always given in the context of Torah, Avodah, Gemilas Chasadim, Din, Emes, Mishpat. Mishpat Eves Shalom. Why? Because let's take our good friend, Mr. Uncle Bernie.
Hi.
Uncle Bernie Ayid, very proud Jew, married a religious Catholic woman, has religious Catholic children. He says, I don't get involved. I'm from Brooklyn. I don't get involved. She can marry, she can do whatever she wants. None of my business.
He's best friends with that old mayor, the one with the
Ed Koch.
anti-Semite.
Oh, Corbin?
He's best friend with her.
Okay.
What did he say?
Unfortunately, he has he has friends who are Mamish Amalek.
Such a
Mamish
disgusting
Amalek. Really Amalek. Which is hard to believe, he's Jewish. So he said, what happened to this guy? And he believes in his heart that he's doing this great mitzvah and he's going to transform everything for the good. If you'll tell him he's the purest tzaddik on the planet, right? So what? Because he loves everybody equally. whether they're evil
And
or
love
whether they're
them.
not. Because what he did is he took a threefold religion and made it one. Instead of Torah, Avoda, and Gemilas Chasadim, forgot the Torah part, the Avoda for sure not. So what's left? A Jew who's involved in Gemilas Chasadim. What does Gemilas Chasadim mean? Everybody's good and give everybody everything. Everybody here. He's rich, let me give you some money, let me give you some money. He's made a religion out of Gemilas Chasadim. And what that leads to is evil. Pure evil.
Like communism.
Communism is pure evil. It destroys the human being because it's not balanced. Because you cannot make a religion out of 1 out of 3. And that's why the Sanhedrin must be directed right into the Mizbeach. Because otherwise you're just not going to have the appropriate concept. The halacha has to keep you on course. No Torah, no Gemilas Chasadim. As Chazal tell us, Hamerachim al ha-zari sofa liot achzar al ha-rachmanim. It's misguided. He's so misguided and blinded to evil. And there's no seeing the truth. If Israel does something, automatically they're racist. What kind of business is that? If he had any brains in his head and looked at it objectively, he would see that it's ridiculous what he's saying. How many Arabs work here? How many Arabs work in our town? How many Arabs? They depend on us for everything. Ridiculous. You go boycott them, they're going to starve. No. Blindly follow chesed. Blindly. And that is the distortion, because it has to be a completely balanced thing. So the parsha then continues, we'll just end with this. It goes from the laws of murder to what else is in the second Aseret Dibros? Lo sirtzach, lo sinaf. There are laws there of marriage and violating women, right? There's lo sinaf there. Lo signov. There's the laws of shomrim. Shomrim who refuse to give back items. That's there, right? What comes next? Lo saneh v'recha ad shakir. Oh no, that's on the other side. It says lo tirtzach, lo sinaf, lo sachmod, lo saneh v'recha ad shakir. Right. So then you have the laws of at the end we have lo sachmod. So lo sachmod is what? Giving to others. Then after you have the whole service of Dibros, we'll say lo sachmod beis re'echa. That includes the wife. That includes everything. And what do we have at the end of Mishpatim? The 3 regalim in which they have to give gifts to the poor. It's amazing. But in Parshas Mishpatim, starting with Makkah, the laws of that, it's a straight reflection of the second set of Aseres HaDibros. And the first set, of course, is the laws of Avadim. So what happened here in Parshas Mishpatim leading up to the Mishkan? I taught you the Aseres HaDibros. And really, the Aseres HaDibros are the Shlosha Dvarim. Why? Because there's 2 Dibros here, but what's above it? There's a Kodesh Baruch Hu. It's Kodesh Baruch Hu gave us 2 Dibros. That's the 3. You understand? That's the 3. It's not 10. It's a threefold relationship that goes all the way back to Gan Eden. So, B'kitzur Nimratz, what we want to say is that Hashem gave us the general concepts of how to live a truly elevated life, and He asked to bring it down. Hashem wants to come from His upper world. You know how many worlds there are before the presence of Hashem could even be with us? There's Atzilus, which we can't even fathom. There's Bria, which is where the Jewish souls come from. There's Yetzirah, where Malachim come from, below Jewish souls. Below. And then there's Arlo Masir, which includes the entire cosmos. The infinite cosmos. That's the lower world, for goodness sakes. And Hashem comes all the way down from His, and says, V'shachanti b'socham. I want to have a loving, intimate relationship with each and every Jew in their heart. Fathom that. It's unfathomable. It can only be because of this incredible love that Hashem has for us, but also a balanced and healthy love. Not a love that leads to evil, a love that leads to goodness. And we should be very flattered to be Jews because we are the only ones who could influence all the worlds. And really has to be a chizuk for our davening. And I'm speaking to myself. We have power beyond belief. The real tzaddikim, or tzaddikim, their koach hatfilah is unbelievable, right? When you're in trouble, when the chips are down, what do? Gemara says you run to a tzaddik and ask them to do what? To daven for you, because they have the power to influence the world. But every Jew does, because we're all Kol Yisrael I'm a kulam tzaddikim. On some level, we're all tzaddikim. So that's what got the Jews back on track. Haman is coming. Mordechai has to say, Lech tzomo olai. The Jews used their koach hatfilah, and they were able to eradicate evil. We have a lot of davening to do. Hashem should help us that this tkufa should be one in which we say, Lehudi Ma'aseh Simchas Hashem.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.